we're not going for a perfect case with no stops and starts, it doesn't matter.
Okay, rolling.
Hello, I'm Dennis Fletcher with Hemini News, and I'm here with Brenda Scott. And this is the first of the series on mental health that we're going to be running on a bi-monthly basis here for the Valley and surrounding cities. I want to welcome you, Brenda, to the first of our series, and we look forward to you returning again. If you feel like you want to bring a guest sometime, it's your show. I'm just here to kind of kick things off and have you bring us up to date. Brenda's going to be informing us about activities of NAMI, and I will let her explain that, but that is the lay organization for supporting mental health activities and issues in the area. She's executive director of NAMI, and it's the Mount San Jacinto chapter, and this covers quite a few towns in this area: San Jacinto and Hemet, and Idlewild, of course, which is our valley. But in addition to that, it covers Paris and Banning and Beaumont and Winchester and Sun City, Menifee, and Little Nuevo. So you cover quite an area here in this area. Brenda, I wonder if you could just start by giving us a little background on yourself, your professional background, and how you came to be a part of NAMI, and then we'll roll into some of the things that NAMI is doing that our readership might be interested in.
Okay. Thanks again for having me, Dennis.
We're glad to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm honored to talk about NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And we are a nationwide grassroots organization that started over 40 years ago here in the Valley. We advocate for change to our mental health system, to have it to be more recovery oriented, where in our mental health system, our old medical model would focus on what was wrong with people who had mental health conditions, and the focus for the last 15-20 years has been what's strong, especially since the Mental Health Services Act passed in 2004, and NAMI has been a part of that in California, and not only getting it on the ballot, but then it was also something that we had to vote on, and then it passed, and then helping to implement it in our county is something that we help with also, we support. And I have been with the organization since 1999. I have a mother who had a diagnosis of schizophrenia and a brother with a diagnosis of bipolar. And my mother took her life when I was 14, and that was really my induction into mental health, that she had been in and out of a mental hospital. And then when my brother was 23, he also took his life. My son started having some things going on with him, and I wanted to learn about mental health, and I took a class called Family to Family, which we still have here in the Valley, but of course now we're doing it on Zoom, and it really helped me to understand a lot more about what was going on with my son. So I decided that this was very near and dear to my heart, and so I changed careers. I decided to go into mental health, and then that in 2013 I became the executive director of this local chapter, and have helped to organize the walk since 2006. So I've been
And may I ask you a
involved with
question?
him. Mm-hmm.
Could you tell us just a little bit about that family to family class and who attends such a class?
So this is an 8-week class, and now it's on Zoom. And it's someone who has a relative with a mental health condition.
Okay.
And they may and may not be diagnosed. You might just think they might have some kind of mental health condition. I think my mask is falling down here. depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, maybe ADHD or anxiety. These are all things that we talk about in the class. And it's an 8-week course. One of the things that we talk about is like communication, how we communicate with our relative, using I statements. There's more on communication. There's a whole class that's dedicated to it. Also, we talk about the brain and how the brain works and how medications work in the brain. And there's, we talk about empathy in mental health, and what it must feel like to be a person who's been given a diagnosis of a mental health condition, and why a lot of times people don't want to get the treatment because of the stigma and discrimination associated with it, and how parents and family members can be supportive in supporting their relative to want to get the help they need, or to try to get themselves to where it is that they wanted to be in their life. Because sometimes what happens is people get derailed and don't complete or finish, whatever career maybe they had thought about in the first place. And so to get them to where maybe they think, hey, maybe I can work, maybe I can get a job.
Could you give us an example of how that might manifest itself in a particular individual?
Well, everyone has strengths, and so it's like, what are these person's strengths, and what is it that maybe they want to do? And in the mental health system that we have, as far as the county mental health system, they're very good at recovery-oriented services, and we work really closely with the county of Riverside and their behavioral health department. So I would say there's a class that people can take to become a family or peer support specialist, and that is another thing that they can learn, more motivational interviewing, things like trauma, how trauma affects the brain. That class talks about transference and countertransference and many things that maybe a clinician might know, but also it's good for families to know, and for the person who has the mental health condition, to learn how to, maybe they think later they might want to get into mental health themselves, and so it gives them a certification for a peer and family support specialist. So that's another class that they can take through us and NAMI California. So there's a few classes that a person can take.
Approximately how many classes are you offering right now to the general public?
Well, our series of classes just ended, but we'll start back up again in September. We had a class called Peer to Peer, which is for a person who has a mental health condition, and we advertised that, and we ended up getting people from all over the country actually taking the class. We had some people from Maryland, Sacramento, Colorado. There was people from all over the place, San Jacinto. So we like to try to keep it more local, but sometimes the way that you the ways that we advertise, and since it's on Zoom, anybody can take the class that lives anywhere. But we would encourage them to maybe take the class closer to their house so that they could get involved with their local NAMI affiliate. But so we have that upcoming peer and family support specialist training coming up, and then also we have a family support group in Spanish, a family support group in English, and a peer support group. That's for people who have some kind of maybe depression or anxiety. They need somebody to talk to, and we do this all on Zoom. So it's led by people who have a mental health condition and are trained to teach this, to facilitate this support group. And we have a lot going on right now. There's a lot of people who have some depression and anxiety, probably more so than usual in this current pandemic.
So is that related to the COVID-19 pandemic, that people are more anxious?
Yeah, I think so.
Sounds like you've got developed quite a reputation if you got people coming from all over the country.
Right.
In a way, that's a compliment to you and your organization, that you're attracting people as far as the East Coast. What's coming up next that someone can participate in that?
Next week? Next
We
week?
got something next week?
Every week we have the family support group, the Spanish family support group, and the peer support group. So those are Wednesdays and Thursdays. They could get on our website, NAMIMountSanJacinto.org, and look up that. If you could find us at NAMI.org is our national website, and then look us up from there.
And there's no punctuation in between, it's NAMI, Mount or MT?
MT.
NAMI, MT, SanJacinto.org.
Yes.
Okay,
Look us up.
all right, I'm sure that, as a newsreel, we'll be running that underneath this picture anyway for everybody.
There you
That's
go.
good.
Okay.
That's good, so we've got classes coming up, and then don't you have an annual event that's,
Well, we have our NAMI walk that we've had for the last 15 years. 14 years is our 15th. And we've traditionally had it at the Diamond Valley Lake, but this year we just recently decided, we were hoping in October that we'd be able to have a face-to-face event, because we've had up to over 2,000 people at the event. But I don't think that's gonna happen this year. We were just hoping that we could have a face-to-face event. So it looks like we're gonna have a virtual event, and a lot of organizations have decided to go virtual. And we have a series of walks in the spring, NAMI does, and those events had to just quickly move to a virtual platform. And so you were using their knowledge, because they got to invent the wheel in the spring. So we get to, for our fall walk, there's some people who have had some experience on how to do this, and it's gonna be a Facebook Live event. And we're just encouraging people to, when they get out there and walk their 3 miles, that they take a picture of themselves, a selfie, maybe with your team, have some signs. You can raise awareness for mental health. I walk for mental health because, so we have some templates of some little signs that you can make, and then you can take your picture with the sign, and we can just raise awareness all over the valley of mental health.
I'm saying, what about videos? Can they shoot videos?
Yeah, you take videos and send them to us, and we can, we'll use them on that day. You can even do your walk ahead of time. Send me the video, and that day we'll just push them all up.
Yeah.
To the Facebook Live feed.
That sounds great.
Yeah, and we'll have some celebrities on that day. The last series of walks, we had Patrick Kennedy was one of the people that came on. And so we'll have some celebrities. We're not 100% sure who yet, but we're working on that.
And we had some ministers, I think, last time. Pastor Brian Hawkins was there last time, and I think he's going to be coming this time again. So a lot of local people, the Russuts, local dignitaries will be there as well.
We've had Linda Krupa and Bonnie Wright and Carly Meyer as our honorary chairs
Carly
before.
Meyer, city councilwoman from Hemet.
Yes.
But now there is going to be their own camera.
It's going to be, that's right, it'll be a virtual Zoom or however it is that we, do a lot of the events. So we'll learn. We're building the plane while flying. We'll figure it out.
Well, I just got one more question, and that is for people who have been locking themselves away during this COVID pandemic, and they're starting to experience anxiety and depression. Do you have, or does NAMI have any suggestions for those?
Well, on NAMI's website, there is some tips for stress, how to survive this pandemic, and you can either email me and I can send it to you, or you can look on NAMI's website. But there's just a variety of things that we can do to help keep our stress down. Exercise, getting enough sleep, eating right. All these things are really important. Zoom with friends, Zoom with, stay connected. It's very important that we stay connected. There's just, there's quite a few ideas in this guide. But self-care is really important right now. We need to take care of ourselves. And it's one of the things we say in our family to family class. And I was telling it to a mom the other day, and I said, you know, it's like they do in the airplane, when the flight attendant says, when the oxygen comes down, who do you put the oxygen on? You or the person that you're with? And it's like, well, you put the oxygen on yourself. And so you have to take care of yourself, or you're not going to be able to take care of others. That's what they tell you in the airplane. And so we encourage that too. You take care of yourself so that you can support others that are in your circle. And sometimes we have to have somebody near us who can put the oxygen on themselves and then help us through that. So, you know, it's us all supporting each other through this, because we've never experienced anything like this before. Not in my lifetime.
Not for 500 years.
Yeah, well, the 1918 pandemic was
Pretty big too.
Yeah, that was a.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like we can learn a lot, and if there is no mental health issues in your family, you could still learn if you're interested in being a supporter and working, and you could be a family or peer support specialist. You could learn about transference and counter-transference, a lot of interesting things you've talked about here today. How can someone find out more about your organization, or maybe join your organization?
Go to our website and you can join there, or you can go to NAMI's website and you can also join there.
And what was that URL again for your website?
NAMI.org is NAMI, the main.
It's the national.
Yeah, and then we're MountSanJacinto.org, so MTSANJACINTO.org.
Well, Brenda, we want to thank you very much for kicking off this series, and we look forward to seeing you again soon to learn more about what's happening with NAMI and mental health. And with that, we're both going to say so long for now.
Thank you for having me. Okay. Are we done?
Good job, Brenda. Good job. You handled all my questions beautifully.
Except my mask kept falling
down. It didn't. Why? Did you see that fly that was driving me crazy? I kept kind of going like, oh my, all my hair that I can't stand is in my eyes, but it was really a fly.
You know, one of the things we could talk about in your series is how can people learn more about the mental health system and how can they get involved? Because we do need people to get involved at the local level. And so they have like behavioral health commissions and advisory boards, like Gina has got on and so have you, the housing committee. There's an older adult system of care and an adult system of care. There's children's committees. There's a lot of committees that people can get on that have to do with county behavioral health, you know, with mental health and behavioral health, substance use together. But you learn more about the services that are out there, and they really do want the input of constituents. And so our national organization has always, part of our mission is an advocacy mission, and it is to, at the local, state, and national levels, to be involved, which is why I'm on the Behavioral Health Commission and many of these other committees, because it's important that because we're the stakeholders. It's important, and this is our taxpayer money. MHSA is a 1% sales tax on millionaires, and how that money is spent comes back to us.
You mentioned this law.
As the stakeholders.
You mentioned this law, and I was going to circle back and ask you to explain that law, but we can cover that in a future issue.
We can talk about advocacy, Prop 63, MHSA.
Right.
We can talk about things like that where people can get involved.
So what would you call that? The California
Mental Health Services Act.
Mental Health.
As a matter of fact, I was listening to a call. I could forward that call to both of you guys if you want to listen.
Sure.
To the call, and it talks about MHSA, and I think it really gives you that feel for what it was. Because you probably didn't. Were you here in 03? Were you in California?
I've only been here for 2 years, and she's a couple months less than me.
Okay, so it was something that was on the ballot, and then it passed in California. And you know, I was not sure it was going to pass, but it did, and it has saved